So you know the exact feeling. You finally sit down at the kitchen table to help a child with their schoolwork.
Oh, the dreaded homework hour.
Right. You've got the math workbook open, the pencils are perfectly sharpened. You've deliberately carved out this time from your evening. And within what, maybe like 3 minutes?
Barely 3 minutes.
Yeah, they're just staring out the window. Or they're peeling the paper off a crayon.
Or suddenly they have this, like, highly specific itch on their elbow that requires their absolute undivided attention.
Exactly. It is a universal and honestly an intensely frustrating experience for anyone who's been there.
It really is. And the thing is, it almost immediately triggers a very specific behavioral cycle for the adult in the room.
Oh, you mean the hovering cycle?
Yes, the hover.
Or you're just watching them, you're tapping the page with your finger, constantly reminding them, hey, look down here, stay on task, we aren't done yet.
Right. And suddenly you realize you aren't really teaching anymore.
No, not at all. You are literally just managing their attention span.
Which is deeply exhausting for everyone involved. But what if the reason they can't focus has, absolutely nothing to do with their discipline
Okay.
and literally everything to do with how their brain actually perceives time?
Well, that is the core question we are unpacking in today's deep dive.
And the big one.
We are extracting some really essential insights from this fascinating homeschooling module, and it promises to solve this exact problem of the wandering mind.
And the craziest part is it does it with a single highly specific tool that costs about $8.
Right, $8. The idea that an $8 tool can stop the nagging and the fighting over homework sounds almost like magic to me.
It sounds totally made up.
Yeah. So our mission today is to figure out the underlying mechanics of how this actually works. The source material introduces this concept called the kitchen timer method.
But before we even put a timer on the table, we really need to completely deconstruct our entire approach to a child's attention.
Because, according to the text anyway, the traditional way adults handle focus completely backfires.
Completely. And the root cause of that backfire is actually quite logical when you step back and look at it.
How so?
Well, right now, most parents default to handling a child's focus at the kitchen table exactly the way a traditional school handles it in a classroom.
Okay.
They rely on constant monitoring and pushing.
Yeah.
They basically act as this external enforcement mechanism, just hovering over the shoulder.
Right. They're basically imitating the teacher at the front of the room saying, eyes on your own paper.
Exactly. But a kitchen table isn't a classroom.
No, it's not.
And that is where the friction really starts. The core thesis of the source material we're looking at today flips that entire paradigm totally on its head.
Which I love.
It argues this fundamental point, and it's so important. Focus is not a discipline problem. It is a design problem.
I just love that framing. Not a discipline problem, a design problem.
It changes everything.
It really does. It makes me think of, trying to carry water in a leaky bucket.
Oh, that's a good way to look at it.
Right. Because if the water keeps spilling out, the traditional approach is to just yell at the water.
Just stay in the bucket.
Yeah, stop spilling.
Right.
It's exhausting, and obviously it's completely ineffective because the container itself is fundamentally broken.
Right.
You don't need to discipline the water, you just need to design a better bucket.
That analogy hits the nail on the head, actually. You are trying to enforce a specific behavior in an environment that literally isn't built to support it.
So how do we fix the bucket?
Well, to understand why it's broken in the first place, we have to look at the psychology of time from a child's perspective.
Okay, let's get into it.
For an adult, time is measurable. It's tangible. We know exactly what 15 minutes feels like. We can conceptualize an hour.
Sure.
But for a child, time is entirely abstract. It's basically invisible.
Invisible. So when a parent says to a 7-year-old, we are going to sit here and do math for 15 minutes, what does that actually sound like to them?
To a 7-year-old, that phrase translates to, we're going to do math forever.
Oh, wow. Forever.
Literally, forever. Because time is invisible to their developing brain, the task just feels endless. And endless feels impossible.
It's like putting an adult on a treadmill, hiding the display screen, and just saying, keep running until I tell you to stop.
Yes, that is exactly what it feels like.
Even if you only make them run a single mile, the psychological agony of not knowing when the suffering ends, it makes the physical exertion feel 10 times harder.
The resistance would be massive.
Oh, I'd step right off the machine.
Right. And that is the exact psychological state the child is in. They're on a mental treadmill with no display screen.
Wow.
And the source text points out that by shifting our environment, by moving away from relying on discipline and instead utilizing design parents can actually fix the treadmill.
Meaning they can make the invisible concept of time visible.
Exactly.
So we need to show them the finish line, which brings us directly to the physical tool that fixes the design problem, the kitchen timer method.
Yes. Since focus is a design problem that requires a visible boundary, the solution the source heavily recommends is a physical kitchen timer.
Physical.
And the word physical is entirely non-negotiable here.
Okay.
We are talking about either a classic twist-the-dial mechanical timer or just a basic digital countdown timer.
A dedicated standalone device.
Yep. And the text notes it needs to sit directly on the table, right there in the workspace, where both the parent and the child can clearly see it counting down.
Why does it need to be right there in the middle?
Because it creates a shared reality.
Yeah.
It makes that invisible boundary of time completely visible to both of you.
Ah, I see.
The source explains the mechanism of why this works so effectively, and it's that predictability reduces resistance.
Predictability reduces resistance.
Yes. When the child can actually see the finish line visually counting down,
Yeah.
this profound psychological shift happens. They stop fighting the parent, and they start working with the clock.
So you are no longer the bad guy enforcing the work.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The clock is just a neutral arbiter of time.
Now, I have to push back on something here because I know exactly what you're thinking at home.
What's that?
Wait a second. I have a $1,000 supercomputer in my pocket.
Oh, the phone question.
Yes. Why on earth do I need to go to the store and buy an $8 plastic dial timer when literally every smartphone on earth has a free, highly accurate, easily adjustable timer built right into it?
Right.
Isn't buying a standalone timer just adding unnecessary clutter to my kitchen?
It's the most common objection, by far. And honestly, it makes logical sense.
Right.
But the source material is incredibly rigid on this point. It makes a crucial distinction here. The timer absolutely cannot be a phone.
Not a phone.
It cannot be a tablet. It cannot be an app with cute little animations counting down.
But wait, why not? A screen counts down just like a mechanical dial does. The information is exactly the same.
The information is the same, yes, but the cognitive load is vastly different.
Cognitive load.
Yeah, a phone sitting on the table carries, as the source describes it, 1,000 distractions.
Okay, true.
And a tablet on the table is the exact thing the child would vastly prefer to be playing with anyway. It's a portal to games, to videos, to text messages from friends.
Ah, I see. It's like putting a box of fresh donuts on the desk and saying, don't eat these, just use the digital clock printed on the front of the box to time your math homework.
That is a perfect way to put it.
You are forcing them to spend mental energy resisting the donuts.
That is the underlying mechanism right there.
Yeah.
Willpower is a finite resource, especially for a developing child.
Right.
If their phone is on the table, a huge portion of their executive function is actively engaged in simply not picking up the phone.
Wow, so they're tired before they even do the math.
Exactly. A dedicated physical kitchen timer has only one job. It establishes a very specific physical reality for the learning space.
The books are physical, the pencils are physical.
And the boundary holding the session together is physical. It entirely removes the cognitive load of ignoring distractions.
Okay, so the phone is banished.
Yeah.
We have this physical, single-purpose timer on the table. But what does this actually mean for implementing the method?
Right.
Because my immediate next question is, how long do I set this thing for? If I set a dial timer for 45 minutes, it's just going to look like a ticking time bomb of torture.
Oh, definitely. And this is where the source introduces a truly brilliant, biologically backed formula. They call it the age in minutes rule.
Let's unpack that, the age in minutes rule.
So a child's natural capacity for uninterrupted high-intensity focus is roughly equivalent to their age in minutes.
Wait, really?
Yeah. So a 6-year-old gets about 6 to 8 minutes.
Hmm?
A 10-year-old gets 10 to 12 minutes.
Hold on, 6 minutes.
Just 6 minutes.
I know kids who take 6 minutes just to find their eraser. Is an attention span of exactly their age in minutes really enough time to actually accomplish any meaningful learning?
Does that sound like it?
It sounds like barely enough time to read the instructions on a worksheet.
It sounds totally counterintuitive to how adults structure their own workdays, I know. But the neurology behind it is fascinating.
Okay, what's the science?
At 10 years old, the frontal lobe, which is the part of the brain responsible for executive function, ignoring distractions, processing new information,
Right.
it literally depletes its available glucose and neurotransmitters after about 10 to 12 minutes of heavy cognitive lifting.
Oh, wait.
It requires a metabolic reset. So if you force them to sit there for 40 minutes, you aren't actually getting 40 minutes of learning.
What are you getting?
You are getting 10 minutes of learning and 30 minutes of cognitive burnout and behavioral management.
Wow. But if I'm trying to get a child through an hour of assigned homework and we are working in like 7-minute chunks, we're going to be sitting at this kitchen table until midnight.
Not necessarily.
How does this actually save anyone time?
Because of the compounding efficiency of deep work versus distracted work.
Oh.
If we synthesize the core philosophy of the source material here, it's this. Short and focused beats long and distracted every single time.
Short and focused.
10 minutes of absolute frictionless flow state accomplishes way more actual work than 45 minutes of whining, pencil tapping, and staring out the window.
Okay, so it's quality over quantity. You're trying to build a rhythm of actual success rather than a marathon of suffering.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And building that rhythm is why the source provides a very specific day one strategy.
Day one. Okay, what do we do?
The first time you introduce this timer, you have to engineer a victory. You need to start even shorter than you think they need.
Shorter?
Yeah, if you have a 10-year-old and you think their brain can easily handle 12 minutes, the source says you should purposefully set the timer for 7 minutes.
Set it for 7, intentionally shortchanging their capacity. Why?
Because the entire goal is for them to finish the assigned task before that timer goes off. You want them to feel like they won a game.
Oh, I see.
When they finish before the beep, the brain gets a massive hit of dopamine. They think, wow, that was easy.
And as a parent, what do?
You follow that up immediately with genuine praise, real recognition. You look at them and say, you crushed that. 7 minutes and you're already done.
It completely flips the script. Instead of learning being a slog to endure, it becomes a hurdle they easily cleared.
And over the course of the next week, you gradually increase the time. 7 minutes quietly becomes 9. 9 minutes becomes 11.
And they don't notice.
The child won't even notice the incremental increases because their very first experience with the tool was anchored deeply in positivity and success.
That's brilliant.
The timer no longer represents a prison sentence. It represents focused work that leads directly to a feeling of accomplishment.
Now, the source also mentions a specific tweak for younger kids, right? Like the 5 to 7-year-old range, where executive function is practically non-existent.
Yes. For those early learners, you gamify the entire process. You literally tell them, let's see if you can beat the timer.
Oh, I love that.
Younger children are naturally wired to respond to a challenge.
Right.
They thrive on that feeling of, I did it.
Right.
By giving them an inanimate object to race against, you remove yourself as the adversary. You aren't the nagging parent demanding they work. The clock is the opponent, and you get to be their cheerleader.
So we have the child engaged. They are racing the clock. They are winning. The dopamine is flowing.
Sounds great, Rose.
It does, but the source material comes with a massive warning sign right here. It basically says parents can completely ruin this beautiful new dynamic if they aren't careful.
Oh, a lot can go wrong if you don't protect the tool. The source establishes 3 rigid guardrails, 3 rules of the timer that are absolutely critical.
Okay, what's the first major pitfall?
Rule number 1. Never, under any circumstances, use this specific learning timer for punishment.
So no timeouts.
Exactly. If you use the kitchen timer to enforce a timeout in the corner, you are actively linking the sound inside of that timer to the feeling of being in trouble.
Oh, wow.
The source text is adamant that this timer must only be associated with learning, which they refer to as brain food.
This makes so much sense through the lens of associative conditioning. It's exactly like setting your absolute favorite, most upbeat workout song as your 5:09 a.m. morning alarm clock.
Oh, that's a terrible idea.
Right. You think it's going to motivate you to get out of bed, but after about 3 days, you're going to permanently ruin the good vibes of that song.
You really will.
Your brain will just associate those opening chords with being yanked out of a dead sleep in the dark. You'll literally flinch every time it comes on the radio in the middle of the day.
That is the exact psychological mechanism at play. It's classical Pavlovian conditioning. Your brain fires the wrong feeling.
Right.
So if you need a timer for behavioral discipline, buy a totally different one. Make it a different color, a different shape, a different beep. The learning timer is sacred.
Keep the learning timer sacred.
No.
Got it. What about the physical space itself? Does that tie into the second rule?
It does. Rule 2 reinforces the boundary we discussed earlier. Keep screens completely away from the workspace.
Ah, circling back to that.
It bears repeating because it's so tempting to just let them use a calculator app on a tablet.
Sure, it's convenient.
But the phone, the laptop, the tablet, they do not belong near the physical timer and the physical books. It's about protecting the physical boundary of the environment so their brain knows exactly what mode it's supposed to be in.
Got it. Sacred timer, sacred physical space. Now, earlier you mentioned that the beep of the timer means they've won.
Yes.
Does that mean when it beeps, pencils drop immediately?
Yeah.
Because I can imagine a kid being mid-sentence and getting frustrated if I just yank the paper away.
That brings us to Rule 3, which is where a lot of parents might stumble because it feels a bit unnatural to how adults manage time.
Okay.
The rule is, don't always force a hard stop the exact second the timer goes off.
Give them a buffer.
Exactly. Give them a 1-minute warning to find a natural, clean break in their thought process.
That makes sense.
But crucially, and this is a brilliant insight into cultivating curiosity from the source, if the timer goes off and the child is highly engaged and they actually want to keep going,
Yeah.
let them.
Let them blow past the boundary.
Yes. The goal of the timer isn't blind obedience to a clock. The goal is engagement.
Right.
If they're in the zone, curious about what comes next in the reading, or focused on finishing a drawing, keep going. That is the magical moment when learning stops feeling like a chore they are forced to do and starts feeling like an activity they actively choose to participate in.
Okay, but let's look at the flip side of that.
Okay?
What if they are racing the clock, they are hyper-focused, and they finish their assigned math worksheet before the timer goes off?
Let's say there's 3 minutes left.
Yeah, 3 minutes left on the dial. Do I give them another worksheet to fill the remaining time?
Absolutely not. And this raises an incredibly important point about how we inadvertently disincentivize our children.
Okay.
The source is crystal clear on this. Never punish efficiency by assigning new work.
Punishing efficiency. That phrase hits hard.
It really does.
Think about your own Tuesday nights listening to this. Have you ever told your kid, great job finishing that so fast, now go read a book for 10 minutes while I finish cooking dinner?
Happens all the time.
You thought you were giving them a bonus enrichment activity, but according to this source, you just taught them a terrible lesson.
You taught them that working hard and focusing just gets them more work.
Yeah.
You've literally incentivized them to work slower on purpose. The next time they have a math worksheet, they will just drag it out for the full 10 minutes to avoid being assigned the reading.
They learn to game the system to protect their free time.
Precisely. You are conditioning them to dawdle.
So what do we do instead?
If they finish early, the source gives you 2 options. Option 1, you just stop completely. You're done. They won their time back, let them go play.
Simple enough.
Option 2, you use those remaining few minutes for a quick spaced repetition review.
Spaced repetition. How does the source explain the mechanics of that? What's it look like in practice with a 7-year-old?
Spaced repetition just means pulling a concept from yesterday or last week and doing a quick teach back.
Okay.
Active recall strengthens neural pathways without the heavy cognitive load of learning something brand new. You ask them to quickly explain a math concept they already know or spell a word from last week.
So you are cementing old memories, but absolutely introducing no new material.
Right. By respecting that boundary, by not springing surprise work on them, the parent trades the constant exhaustion of hovering for the peace of structural predictability.
That sounds like a dream.
The child knows the deal, they trust the boundary, and the parent can finally step back.
Okay, let's bring all of this together. The kitchen timer method. It is brilliantly simple on the surface, but deeply psychological underneath.
Very much so.
You get a dedicated physical timer, no screens, to eliminate the cognitive load of resisting digital temptation. You set the time based on the age and minutes rule, matching their brain's natural metabolic capacity for intense focus.
Exact.
On day 1, you start short so they can secure an easy win and feel that dopamine hit of success. You gradually build up the time as the week goes on.
Yep.
And above all, you protect the tool. You never use it for punishment, and you never punish their efficiency by giving them extra work if they beat the clock.
That is the complete framework right there. It's about moving from an adversarial relationship with homework to a collaborative one.
And it really is a massive paradigm shift.
Yeah.
Swap out discipline for design. Give them a boundary they can actually see. It's such a practical takeaway for anyone listening who just wants their sanity back during the evening routine.
It is incredibly practical.
Okay.
But, looking closely at the conclusion of the source material, it actually leaves us with a tease for a much deeper, much more complex issue regarding how children view education as a whole.
Oh, where does it go after solving the kitchen table focus problem?
Well, we've established today that a simple lack of focus is often just a design problem. It's easily fixed by making time visible with a ticking clock and matching their neurological limits.
Right.
But the source poses a provocative question. What if the child still actively resists?
Like beyond just losing focus.
Exactly. What if they don't just lose focus, but they look at you with total defiance and say they absolutely hate learning altogether?
A physical kitchen timer isn't going to fix a deep-seated hatred of the learning process itself.
It isn't. And the source material suggests something profound about that kind of intense emotional resistance.
What does it say?
It argues that this act of refusal isn't actually laziness, and it isn't a lack of intelligence. It is conditioning.
Conditioning, meaning through repeated negative interactions, they've actually been taught to hate it.
Yes. Which invites us to really ponder a difficult question. If a child's refusal to learn is a learned behavior in and of itself, what kind of past environments or interactions condition them to hate it?
Wow.
And more importantly, if you were the adult in the room, how might you go about unconditioning a mind? How do you dismantle that negative anchor and rebuild a human being's natural, innate curiosity?
That is a massive question to sit with. How do you uncondition a mind that has learned to hate the very act of learning?
It's heavy.
It really makes you rethink every interaction you have with a child over a textbook and what long-term associations you might be building without even realizing it.
Absolutely.
But for now, at least we have a concrete place to start. A way to redesign the environment so that tomorrow, when you sit down at the kitchen table, maybe you won't be trapped in that exhausting cycle.
That's the hope.
Maybe, just maybe, they won't be staring out the window because they'll be too busy racing the clock.